Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra
Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura So we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-Lila, chapter 10, the trunk, branches, sub-branches of Chaitanya 3. And today's verse is verse number 76. Gopinath Simha Eka Chaitanya Dasa
Nidata Sima Eka Chaitanya Radha
Akrurabali Prabhu Yantra Kaila Parihas
Akrobali
Gopinatha Simha Eka Chaitanya Radhasa Akrurabali Prabhu Yantra Kaila Parihas
Akrobali Prabhu Yamle Kaila Parihas
Gopinatha Simha Eka Radhasa
Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Akrurabali Kaila Parihas
Akrobali Prabhu Yamle Kaila Parihas
Gopinatha Singha Eka Chaitanya Radha
Gopinatha Sima Eka Chaitanya Radha
Akrurvali Prabhu Jai Kaila Parihas
Akrobali Gopinatha Sima Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Gopinatha Simha Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Akrobali Prabhu Yamle Gopinatha Sima Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Akrurabali Prabhu Yamle Kaila Parihas
Akrurabali
Prabhu Yamle Kaila Parihas
Gopinatha Simha Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Gopinatha Sima Eka Chaitanya Radhasa
Akrurabali Prabhu Yamle Kaila
Khela Parehas.
Gopinath Simha,
Gopinath Simha,
Gopinath Simha,
Gopinath Simha,
Eka,
Eka,
one, Chaitanya Radasa,
Chaitanya Radas,
servant of Lord Chaitanya,
servant of Lord Chaitanya,
Akrura Bali,
Akrubari,
famous as Akrura,
famous as Akrura,
Prabhu,
Prabhu,
the Lord,
the Lord,
Yanre,
Yanre,
whom
Kaila,
did,
did,
Parihasa,
Parihas,
joking.
Sorry, Prabhu. I comment.
Oh, okay. Really?
But
Okay, according to our schedule, this was the. Yeah, but today I have it scheduled on 76.
You want to?
yeah,
According to the schedule, I'm on 76.
So this one is 75.
This is 76.
I depend on the. Me on my phone is 75.
Why? There is changes in verses?
okay, no problem. Just do.
It's not better. No?
Do it again. You prepared it, no? So
Yeah, but just saying. No,
No problem.
yeah, but
wait, which Vedabis are you following?
I just see. Actually, on the books is also the same, 75. Because I took on this, but also on the book.
Let's see.
Veda base fault.
No, because I've never heard of it.
because you don't have internet.
Yeah, no, I took my hotspot.
Okay, I will show you if you
No, I have. Let's see what's the next version.
On the book, so this is a mistake of Veda. 75, Garuda.
Oh. Wait, so the next one is. No, wait, so if I look at the next one, it's about Devananda Pandit. That's the same one?
So the next, so 76 is Gopinath Singha.
But no, so it's good.
Gopinath Sima is what we're dealing with today.
So I think it's Revati spoke on it. Gopinath
So,
Sima.
Gopinath
I
Sima
did
is.
75
No,
on Saturday.
yeah, but Revati I don't know when, but he did Gopinath
We
Sima.
talked about Akrura.
But you can still do it, no?
Okay.
Yeah. Next personality. So,
So about Garuda Pandit was with Jagannath, and Revati did about so Gopinath Singha. So it's supposed to be even after, so 77.
okay, so the numbering is not wrong.
Devananda.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
but
a mistake then. I didn't do the following verse.
Okay, so numbering is not wrong.
The number of books are not wrong.
Ah,
but,
okay.
Look out the date.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's supposed to be 77.
Let's see, which is the next one. Devananda Pandit was a professional decided by the mercy of Ekasura and the
If
grace
you
of.
prepared on the other verse.
Yeah.
Stick on top.
Okay, what Prabhu would have dealt with, what we of Akrura's teachings, I'm not sure what Prabhu dealt with in the last session. Was anyone there in the last Gopinath Sima's session?
I'm sure he didn't say everything.
that for sure. Okay. Okay, what we do is we will read more of Bhagavatam today then, so that we can read more on the teachings of Akrura. Okay, so I'll just quickly read the translation and purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Prabhupada. Gopinath Simha, the 38th branch of the tree, was a faithful servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord jokingly addressed him as Akrura. Purport: actually, he was Akrura, as stated in the text 117 of Gaura Ganodesha Dipika. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कथा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखांश। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So probably the Lord wants more of the glory of Akrura, therefore we're discussing on 2 consecutive days. So, as we know, Akrura, the uncle of Krishna, so he used to work for Kamsa's royal assembly, where he had quite a lot of responsibilities in that assembly. So, of course, Kamsa was trying to kill Krishna in different ways, and one of the ways ultimately he decided, because he sent so many different demons and nothing was working out ultimately, so he decided that he's going to send Kamsa, and Kamsa is going to bring Krishna to Vrindavan, to Mathura from Vrindavan, and then he will do arrangements for killing him in Mathura. So this is where Akrura comes into place. Whole chapters dedicated to Akrura. So and of course Akrura comes down as Gopinath Simha in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, and there is actually not a lot of descriptions about Gopinath Simha, but enough to say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to address him as Akrura, and therefore today we will try and more of the teachings of Akrura. Akrura is quite an important personality in our scriptures. So the word Akrura means
Not cruel.
yeah, correct. Gopis address him as the opposite. They call him Krura. He is the most cruel. He is the most the disliked by the gopis. So all the gopis, they would form like groups together and they would chastise Akrura. Why? We will look at it. Of course, we know he took away Krishna to Mathura, but more of those sections we will read upon today. So going back to it, Kamsa, he wanted to arrange this big wrestling match so that ultimately could come to Mathura, and he made, as we remember, we made huge arrangements. He had a big elephant right in the starting of the assembly, or not assembly, more like it's like the Roman, what's it called, the arena for fighting. Yeah. So it was more something like that, where and he sent invitations to all the neighboring villages so that they could all come and they could join in the wrestling match, and they could ultimately see Krishna being killed. Of course, these are all plans of Kamsa, and he actually told these plans that this is what I'm going to do. These are the elephants that are going to wait over here, who are going to trample them upon. If then we will have the best of the wrestlers to take Krishna and Balaram down. And of course, Akrura ultimately knew that Krishna is Deva Deva, is gods of the gods. For him, this elephant, these wrestlers are of no comparison. And therefore, he happily accepted that he will go and he will get Krishna from Vrindavan. If I don't know, anyone been to Mathura before? No, I think even for me, I've been to Vrindavan, but I've not been to Mathura. But the distance between Mathura and Vrindavan is actually not very big. By car, we can cover it in less than 1 hour. It depends on the traffic, of course. But during Kamsa's Krishna's time, there was no traffic. But Kamsa gave like a really nice, brand new chariot. Krishna could be brought back in that beautiful chariot. So this is one of the services which Kamsa did for Krishna, is to give him a nice chariot. And of course, ultimately he got rewarded as well because Krishna personally killed him. So when the chariot was given to Akrura, Akrura took the chariot and he started to go towards Vrindavan. But apparently, so there are actually two descriptions about this. One of the descriptions says that he went on the day of Ekadashi, and one of the descriptions say that he went on the day of performs pastimes in different universes. So one of them could be Dwadasi. But one thing is for sure, in both these pastimes, both these days of different pastimes, he took a whole day to reach from Mathura to Vrindavan, which is not usually the case because imagine you have like a really fast chariot. Chariots are meant to go fast because you usually use them on the battlefield as well. So he could have covered the distance from Mathura to Vrindavan in a whole day. It said that in the morning and he reached very late in the evening, and he was completely exhausted with his whole travel because when he reached Vrindavan, all the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis and many others, they brought him a lot of food items and preparations because he would have been tired. But why did he actually take so long? So this is explained in the Bhagavatam, a whole chapter on it, his journey from Mathura to Vrindavan, and that's how important his journey. A whole chapter is. So one of the nice verses which mentions in the journey is Kim Maya Charitam Bhadram Kim Taptam Paramam Tapaha Kim Vathapi Arhate Datam Yad Drakshyami Adya Keshavam. So Sri Akrura thought, what pious deeds have I done? What severe austerities undergone? What worship performed or charity given so that today I will see Lord Keshava? So he's constantly absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, and he's constantly thinking that how is it that I got a chance to see Krishna, and to somehow he has to get the darshan of Krishna. How is it even possible? So he continues to think, and we will read some of these verses where he says, since I am a materialistic person, absorbed simply in sense gratification, I think it is having gotten this opportunity to see the Jai Shri Radha. So he's thinking about these different things. He's saying about how materialistic of a person he is, and he's constantly absorbed in sense gratification. And it is difficult for me to have gotten this opportunity to see Lord Uttama Shloka, as it would be for one born a Shudra to be allowed to recite the Vedic mantras. This is the mood we're supposed to have in to see the Lord, to see the deities. That it's going to be a good fortune that I'm going to get to see the deities of the Lord. I'm going to get to have the darshan of the Lord, and to also think that I am the most fallen soul. It is impossible for me to get this opportunity in this lifetime to get to see the darshan of the Lord. It is as much as a should how to recite the Vedic mantras. He was thinking about all these thoughts. Akrura was getting lost in the route to go from Mathura to Vrindavan, and therefore he would take the wrong direction, and he would think he would realize, and again he would wake up and he'll go back on the right route. And that is the reason why he was constantly getting lost on his journey to Vrindavan. And still he would continue and he would think and he would pray. Today, all my sinful reactions have been eradicated and my birth has become worthwhile. Since I will offer my obeisances to Lord, which mystic yogis meditate upon. Indeed, today, King Kamsa has shown extreme mercy by sending me to see the lotus feet of Lord Hari, who has now appeared in this world. Simply by the effulgence of his toenails, many souls in the past have transcended this insurmountable darkness of material existence and achieved liberation. So, one of the most important verses that he thinks about over here is how Kamsa extreme mercy as a demon, and anyone else would have been so miserable and thinking about Lord Kamsa, but King Kamsa as a demon. How is it that he's preparing for plans of killing Krishna, and Akrura is actually playing along, and he's thinking about how fortunate he is to be able to take part in such pastimes, and how King Kamsa, out of all the people, chose him to bring Ravan to Mathura. So usually imagine if we were in such a situation where there is someone who's telling us that go bring the Lord so that he may be killed today. And for us the immediate reaction would be, no way, what is wrong with you? I'm not bringing the Lord so that he be killed. But here it's the complete opposite. He's thinking about how so much of mercy that Kamsa is giving him. And then he goes on to think about different names of Krishna particularly. So Prabhupada, in this almost every verse in this chapter, the name of Krishna, from Mukunda to Uttama Shloka to Keshava, so many different names, of course, which each name we remember Krishna's pastime with that particular name. So then Prabhupada explains that actually Krishna has no name. The word Krishna itself means all attractive. So that's also a name which is given by the devotees of Krishna. Krishna himself is nameless, as we would call it. Like he doesn't have a name. He's God in that perspective. But the devotees of Krishna, they give him different names, which are composed in different manner. Of course, Prabhupada, we saw, gave names beyond the Vedic scriptures. Like, for example, we have over here as Paris Ishvara. We don't find Paris Ishvara in our scriptures. Same with London Ishvara. So, the are actually given by the devotees of the Lord. Prabhupada created these new names over here. So someday in the Vedic scriptures there will be a mention of Paris Ishvara, there will be a mention of London Ishvara. So because these are names given by devotees of the Lord, which are given by Prabhupada himself. So, and someday Akrura will recite these names as well. So again, each of these verses are so nice, we can go on talking about them for hours. Rush through it. I'm going to see Supreme Lord Vishnu, the reservoir of all beauty, who by his own sweet will has now assumed a human-like form to relieve the earth of her burden. Thus there is no denying that my eyes will achieve the perfection of their existence. All sins are destroyed and all good fortune is created by the Supreme Lord's qualities, activities and appearance. And words that describe these three things animate, beautiful. Words bereft of his glory on a corpse.
What is corpse?
Dead body.
Oh.
Like if you there's actually another verse which describes about when we try to decorate our body, it's like we're actually decorating a dead body, because ultimately we are the soul, we are not the body. So that's why many times we are described as corpses. That because without the soul we are a corpse, we are a dead body. So bereft of his glories, which is Krishna, are considered like putting a decoration on a dead body. in Boulogne there is I'm sure there must be in every shop, but next to the crematorium there is a a big shop where it says in French that plan for your death, book your marble, book your flower bouquet, book your arrangements so that you die nicely. So I'm sure the next to the crematoriums and everywhere because they want you to pay for your the best of the marbles, the best of the flower decorations for your death. So this is exactly like that. We have even in the Bhagavatam in the first canto where it says the scriptures or the works which do not describe the glories of the Lord are considered as a place of garbage or a pilgrimage of crows. What is the Sanskrit? I forgot. Yeah.
Yad Vachacha. Sorry.
Yeah, even I forgot. It's such a common verse. Okay, so back to the chariot, where Kamsa is thinking about the glories of Krishna. So then I will at once alight from. Okay, so this was the verse before. Today I shall certainly see him, the goal and spiritual master of the great souls. Seeing him brings jubilation to all who have eyes, for he is the true beauty of the universe. Indeed, his personal form is the shelter desired by the goddess of fortune. Now all the dawns of my life have become auspicious. Then I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, the supreme personalities of Godhead. Theirs are the same feet that great mystic yogis striving for self-realization bear within their minds. I will also offer obeisances to the Lord's cowherd boyfriends and to all other residents of Vrindavan. I was thinking when I was coming here, so absorbed in thoughts about Krishna, his glories, and Krishna and Balaram that we should actually get lost to come here. You know, we should miss the trains, we should miss the metros, we should somehow or the other take the wrong exits because we should be so absorbed with the thoughts that this should actually happen to us. But of course, we are ultimately unfortunate souls. So it might happen that we get lost, but obviously maybe it's not thoughts of Krishna that made us get lost.
Falling asleep in the train, or
Sorry?
falling asleep in the train.
We're so much in Maya that these are not the thoughts that are coming in. But even in his mind, so it continues in his mind, he was offering charity as well, which we saw even when Krishna was born in the jail, Vasudeva and Devaki offering charity. So it's actually nice. That I was thinking that many a times like we don't have cows over here, we don't have big festivals we can arrange for giving out charity to different brahmanas. So at least in our mind we can do this regularly, where we have a festival of giving out not chariots, more and of course chariots also, chariots, cows, ornaments to brahmanas, all of that. Recognizing me as an intimate friend and relative, Krishna will embrace me with his mighty arms, instantly sanctified my body, and diminishing to nil all my material bondage, which is due to fruitive activities. So, particularly, he was thinking how Krishna will embrace him and how he will give him his blessings. So, if we see generally, Vishnu, the form of Vishnu has 4 hands. Out of the 4, there are 2 which are generally meant to bless the devotees and 2 for the demons. In this particular section, Prabhupada describes the 2 different mudras that we have in our deities. Like for example, here we see Radharani has her hand out like this, which is generally meant to give blessings. So this is more like the Abhaya mudra, which is for giving fearlessness. Abhaya, which is Prabhupada's name in itself, one who was fearless. So this particular mudra that is giving out blessings is the one which is known as the Abhaya mudra, that gives fearlessness to anyone they bless. So here Radharani is giving us that same blessings. And the other one is where you either are holding something or giving something out, which is more like a forward hand out. That also has As one of the mudras. Where was it? So that mudra is meant to give blessings. So Varada mudra, which gives benedictions. So you have Varada mudra and you have Abhaya mudra. These are the two different mudras. Of course, there are so many different types of mudras which we generally offer when we do different types of offerings. But in deities or generally giving blessings, we have given. So most of the deities we see today are the ones that are Varada, that means to give blessings or to give benedictions. So here, when Akrura was praying to Krishna, he was actually talking about embracing, how Krishna will embrace him in the particular hands. But also, Akrura was expecting the Lord to give those blessings, because as soon as because same thing happened to Dhruva Maharaj as well. So if you remember, Dhruva, the Lord blessed him with the conch shell on top of his, and because of that, everything was manifested within him. The same thing Akrura was expecting as well, that as soon as he sees the Lord will bless him in such a way that he will get all benedictions. He will be purified from all material contamination. So, having been embraced by all famous Lord Krishna, I will humbly stand before him with bowed head and joined palms, and he will address me. This will be fulfilled. Indeed, the life of anyone personality fails to recognize is simply pitiable. So, still now he's only thinking, he's not met the Lord. he's only thinking in his mind about how the Lord will react when he comes. How will he have the darshan of the Lord? And what will Krishna address him? So he's saying if Krishna doesn't even address you, then it's someday when we get to see the Lord, desire also that the Lord will come towards us, he will embrace us, he will bring us back into the spiritual world. But even if he doesn't, it's still of course we should think the complete opposite also, that we are so fallen. Krishna should not even dirty his hands by touching us. That should be our mood as well. The Supreme Lord has no favorite, no dearmost friend, nor does he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or all the same with his devotees in whatever manner they worship him, just as trees of heaven fulfill the desires of whoever approaches him. And then he speaks about how Balaram will also welcome him. Of course, we will not go into the details, there is so much to talk about. Then, Akrura, when he was also on the way, there's one more thing that stopped him, which was the footprints of the Lords. So, when he was going in a chariot, on the sand, he saw Krishna's footprints. And as soon as he saw the footprints, he went on the floor and he was rolling in. The last time we were in Navadvip Mandal Parikrama and Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj, in one of the places where it described that the sands of Navadvip are the same as the sands of Vrindavan. And as soon as Maharaj reached that particular point, the next moment he was on the floor and he was literally rolling on the floor to get the dust. So I had a backpack on the floor. I'm going to have sand all over me. After that, so these are the thoughts that were running in my head, like, should I roll on the floor, should I not roll on the floor, what should I do? And then immediately we see like all the devotees are getting on the floor. They don't care about how they're dressed, what they're wearing, it's going to damage anything, not. Everyone's rolling on the floor. And I did exactly the same thing. I was like, forget this, just roll on the floor. But this is exactly what Akrura was doing as well. Like he was literally, and Akrura of course was dressed up in a very royal manner. He had jewelry, he had ornaments, he had a very nice. But he was all on the floor. He of the Lord, increasingly agitated by the Lord's footprints, his body is standing at end because of his pure love and his eyes filled with tears. Akrura jumped down from his chariot and began rolling about among those footprints. Ah, this is the dust from my master's feet. The very goal of life is this ecstasy which Akrura experienced when, upon receiving Kamsa's order, he put aside all pride, fear, lamentation, and absorbed himself in seeing, hearing, and describing. So here the Bhagavatam gives us that goal. Our goal should be to experience what Akrura experienced. So Akrura gives us that enlightenment onto what our goal in life is supposed to be, is to get that same ecstasy, is to put aside the pride, all the loha, moha, matsarya, all the different anarthas that we have, is to put it all aside and to be completely absorbed in seeing, hearing, and describing the things that reminded him of Krishna. Of course, get into the different descriptions because we want to cover a lot more. So here it describes that he enters Vrindavan and all the Vrajvasis welcome him. He's given a place to stay. He's given nice prasharam, and Nand Maharaj is asking about him, and so is everyone else. So okay, so then the next chapter actually describes how Akrura having a conversation with Krishna, where he describes to him about what Kamsa's desires are. That he actually tells Krishna everything, that when you reach Vrindavan, Mathura, he's going to try to kill you in different ways. And then of course Krishna and Balaram, they have a laugh about it, they're laughing so much when they heard this, that the things that Prabhupada describes is that here descriptions about Krishna's bodily or facial features or about what he does, we should always absorb ourselves inside that. So this chapter actually talks about how Krishna laughed. It'll be nice someday if we should go through it and read it about how Krishna laughed, how are his ornaments, what is he wearing. We should always, whenever we get a chance, to read about the bodily descriptions about the Lord and his actions. So later on, this chapter also describes that the Krishna and Balaram get onto the chariot, and what Akrura is able to see, he's able to see the forearms of the Lord, what his complexion is, what kind of garments he's wearing, how that Anantashesh that is protecting the chariot that somehow forms, and how there are different demigods that are singing his praises. All of this is able to see, and how he with voice choked with emotion. So we're not going to get to the details of this because if we get into it, we will spend like another half an hour just to talk about just reading the descriptions, forget even anything else. So the more important element is actually the prayers of Akrura. So what happens is once Krishna and Balaram get and all the Brajvasis come down because this is Krishna leaving for Mathura, and of course Krishna is very dear to them, so they did not want to leave him. And the special description is described of the gopis. The gopis were crying. So all of the gopis came down. So earlier the gopis were thinking like, so they all had families, they all had mother-in-laws, they all had father-in-laws, they had husbands. So they were all thinking, what will my husband say that I'm going and stopping this, going away. At one point when the chariot started to move, the gopis, or what the world thinks, let me run because Krishna is not going to come back. He's going to see the beautiful city girls and he's going to be attracted towards them, and no one's going to look at the village gopis. So they all started having these different things that Krishna is never going to come back. Krishna is going to find beautiful women in the cities and Krishna is going to like them, and Krishna is not going to come to the gopis. And coming back to Vrindavan. When the chariot started to go ahead, all gopis went in ahead of the horses. They went in ahead of the chariot. There are these nice pictures which show this gopis stopping the chariot. Akrura. Let's see if we can see. So yeah, there are so many pictures. So if you see, this is the one that we have in our movement. But it's more or less like. So it's like all the gopis are trying to stop the chariot and stopping Krishna and Balaram from going away. And what happened is some of the gopis are smart. They know the next route of where it's going to go, a left or a right. So they go take a shortcut and they go ahead and they block the road on the other side. And when they're not able to stop there as well, then they go to the next spot. And like this, the whole path till the outskirts of Vrindavan, the gopis are trying to stop the away, stopping the chariot, and they're crying. They're falling down on the floor. Like if you see, some of the gopis have even fainted on the floor just because of this thought that Krishna is never coming back. They're going to lose Krishna completely. So all of these. So there's so much of discussion about each of these pictures that are described in the. So here, these are some. If you see, some of them are on the floor, some of them are stopping the wheel, some of them are stopping the horses, some of them even bring food for the horses so that the horses get distracted, you know. So there's so much description about it. But and so this is one thing of stopping. There is one set of gopis that are cursing Akrura. They're literally sitting down there and they're cursing Akrura that you are the most cruel, you are a demon, you are a rascal. You are taking away what's wrong with you. So they're trying to convince Akrura that you understand what you're doing. Like you're taking him to Mathura. And then what happened is earlier the conversation was only with Nanda Maharaj and with Krishna. Somehow the gopis also Krishna is going to go through a wrestling match. So then that was the last limit. Then the gopis completely lost it. They collapsed, thinking that Krishna will probably be killed in that battle that is going to take place. So the whole chapter over here starts to describe about these elements. But after that, they go a little forward. They start continuing, and as soon as they reach the outskirts, then Akrura starts to pray to Krishna. Prayers of Akrura. So after all the drama, Akrura went forward. Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so we're just going to go some of the verses which are quite important to us, and these are the sanam bonum of those verses. So in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would constantly call Akrura, and he would sometimes him of these different prayers, and he would remind him of how such an exalted devotee was. Of course, Gopinath Simha himself was a glorious devotee. He joined Mahaprabhu in different pastimes, but Mahaprabhu knew who Gopinath Simha was, so he would constantly remind him. Okay. I offer my obeisances to you. Swam about in the ocean of dissolution, killer of Madhu and Kaitava, to the immense tortoise Lord Kurma, who supported Mandara mountain, to the boar incarnation Lord Varaha, who enjoyed lifting the earth. Obeisances to you, the amazing Lord Narsimha, amazing lion, who remove your saintly devotees' fear, and to the dwarf Vamana, who stepped over the three worlds. So avatar or the different avatars of Krishna. I really like about Akrura is that he's constantly describing different, as we mentioned, the names of Krishna, but also the different avatars of Krishna. He's actually very scholarly. Being thus fallen, I'm approaching your feet for shelter, O Lord, because although the impure can never attain your feet, I think it is nevertheless possible by your mercy. Only when one's material life has ceased can one develop consciousness of your bodies. So again, only when one's material life has ceased can one develop consciousness of you. So even for us to be able to develop, to have these prayers to the Lord, to be able to have darshan of the Lord, is when we are completely free from all the material life as we have in today, that's when we will actually be able to have. O son of Vasudev, whom all living beings reside, O Lord of the mind and the senses, again I offer you my obeisances. O Master, please protect me, who am surrendered unto you. So this was the last prayer which Akrura gave or prayed to Krishna and Balaram specifically, where he says that please protect me, who am always surrendered unto you. The elements of his prayers are that if you want to please the Lord in different prayerful way, we have to remind Krishna when he was merciful to different entities. That's why here he brings about different names, different demons. Here he's describing him as a son of Vasudev, and he's describing him how he is the master. Please protect me. So it's a very is to remind him that, oh my lord, you protected the Pandavas, you protected this person, you protected so many people, you gave mercy to Dhruva, therefore please give me mercy also. So you bring in the different elements of the merciful elements. You remind the Lord of how merciful he has been so that he can bless us in the same manner. So this comes in from Akrura's teachings as well, constantly describing him of his different pastimes, of his qualities, so that he reminds the Lord ultimately that please protect me in that particular situation. So these are more or less the glories of Akrura. Actually, we can go on talking about him for hours and hours together. And sorry, one more point that Akrura reminds prayers. So when the gopis, when Krishna was leaving, there were constantly three main words that the gopis were saying were Govinda, Damodara, Madhaveti. This actually comes from who's the personality, the Bilva Mangal Thakur. He has this, I think it's 70 verses. It's a very long prayer that he's composed, and in every prayer or every shloka or every describes with this particular verse where he says Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So Akrura also in this section brings about the same O Govinda, O Damodara, O Madhava, just as the gopis were praying. So this should be a prayer that we should constantly pray to the Lord, just as how the gopis did, just as how Akrura did, and constantly keep chanting the Damodara Madhaveti. This is our section for today. Sorry, I had to rush through. There's so much to cover, but I just wanted to give you all a glimpse of how glorious Akrura is. His all these chapters that are describing can go on for hours and hours together, probably days together, just by reading about Akrura. So, thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
So Akrura was living in Mathura before Kamsa sent him to Vrindavan.
Yes.
How we knew that Krishna was God? He never met him before.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, he's probably
of course he
an
is.
associate of the Lord, so we can understand theoretically.
Yes.
But
for sure, but I don't know if there was a description where he actually met.
He's part of his family though?
Yeah, he's uncle.
So maybe he got some news.
Yeah, maybe it's only with news. That's a good question. I never thought of that. Yeah, because there is actually no description of Akrura meeting Krishna before, and Krishna did not even travel to Mathura before.
yeah, he can know just by hearing
Yeah,
about
just by
like
hearing.
Rukmini.
Yes, yes.
Maybe this is what happened.
Yeah, maybe he met.
So
Maybe he
it's
went
a
to
good
Vrindavan.
example for us also. We never met him, but we can know that he got by what we hear from pure devotee.
From Prabhupada, from scriptures, yeah, yes. It's the other thing over here, like for example in this chapter, there's a lot of description about Krishna's garments, where he wears yellow garments. So there's this one particular devotee who asked that, how do we know that Krishna actually wears dhotis? It could be anything, any sort of yellow garments. It could just be a gown, it could just be trousers, it could be pants. How do we know he's actually wearing dhotis? Because in the whole of the Bhagavatam, there's no mention of dhotis. So, this was a question on Ask BVKS, and Maharaj replied, he's like, that's why we hear about how Krishna looks like, but then we have also those who have seen Krishna who describe it to us, like Prabhupada. Krishna. He knows how Krishna looks like because he's a Shakti Avesh. And therefore, if Prabhupada says that Krishna wears a dhoti, therefore he wears a dhoti because Prabhupada has seen it. Prabhupada has given us that vision. So in the same way, maybe Akrura, maybe if he would not have seen it, but he would have heard, just like how Rukmini also, she heard from the people who have seen him. So it could be that particular section. So even for us, we can hear from the pure devotees of how Krishna actually looks like. Yes, Prabhu.
And what about the connection with Gopinath? Because they perform this kind of pastimes, and in Gaura-Lila, then we recognize some features about these pastimes. And is there a similar episode regarding Gopinath Sima? Why?
Actually, Gopinath Sima, there's hardly any descriptions.
Yeah.
I went through this Ganodesha Deepika to try this particular section because their verse number is mentioned, and I tried to research a lot about who is this Gana, what does he do, is he the Kirtan or is he not much about him. There is hardly anything anywhere. Yes.
He was doing what I heard from last class is every year he was going with all the inhabitants of Navadvip, right? Go to Jagannath.
Jagannath Puri, yeah.
So it looks like his opposites. He's bringing them.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe he feels guilty.
He's taking all the gopis on the other side. Yeah, could be. But in scriptures, at least, there is hardly any description about Gopinath Simha. That's why in the pulpit also Prabhupada just gives one line and he says this is Akrura. That's it. There's nothing more about Gopinath Simha. Yeah.
Why do those names? Do we know why those?
No, I mean I'm not sure on why they use these particular names, but it just sounds in a good meter, because the gopis many times when they pray to the Lord, they actually sing the glories of the Lord. They don't just pray that, oh my Lord, please do this, please, you're the glorious, you're this, but they compose it in a manner by which it sounds musical as well. So Veti just sounds musical. I don't know, I'm not sure why they refer to as these three as a combination. I'm not sure. But Bilva Mangal Thakur, in his entire prayers, I don't know what those prayers are called. Let's see. Bilva Mangal Thakur.
Agri Kurunam Atha. Bilva Mangal Thakur. Yeah. Agri Kurunam Atha.
It's called. So these are different verses that are composed by Bilva Mangal Thakur. And if you see in all these verses, the last line is Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So it's describing how Draupadi and all the others, they all shouted out Govinda Damodara Madhava. So here in this entire section, he's talking about how all the residents of Vrindavan shouted. So everyone in Vrindavan used to say it in this manner. See here again, the younger brother of Balaram was dodging about her restless eyes, taking a ball of fresh butter to lure him. A gopi called him, "O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." So yeah, everyone in Vrindavan used to call him in this manner. Yashoda called out to her own son, "O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava," most important pastimes of the Lord. It did, yeah. So how many verses are there? There are 71 verses. So 71 verses describing all the pastimes of Krishna, all of them ending with only one. I think there's only one verse. What if I remember reading it long back, or I don't know. We'll have to go through the entire section. But there's this one place where a shloka is quoted. Yeah, it'd be nice to sing this bhajan someday, but 70 verses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. Vrindavan. No. Oh, yeah, okay. No, okay. Then maybe this is the last verse which doesn't have it. Shri Govinda Damodara Sutra Sampurna. So yeah, the whole of Vrindavan calls him Govinda Damodara Madhava. That's all. Okay, so thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki.
Jai.
Gopinath Simha ki.
Jai.